Listen to the drums of history. They do not lie. They carry the heartbeat of kingdoms and the warnings of forgotten battles. Some wars were won by strength. Some were won by cunning. But once, long ago, in the land of the Anlo people, a warrior rose who won without lifting his sword. He defeated war itself. Not with blood, not with spears, but with peace. And his name would never be forgotten. This is his story. The story of the brave warrior who defeated war without fighting. The Anlo Kingdom, on the coast of what we now call Ghana, where the lagoons kiss the sea, where fishermen cast their nets at dawn, where drums echo across the villages at night. It was a land of beauty, but also a land where war was never too far away. Neighboring clans watched with greedy eyes. Disputes over land, over water, over honor, could spark battles that left villages in ashes. And so, in the heart of the kingdom, the elders taught their sons, a man must be ready to fight. A warrior's blood must never grow cold. Strength was honor. Victory was survival. But among them, there was one warrior. Different. His name was Togbi Atiko. From boyhood, he was strong of arm, quick of foot, and sharp of mind. The wrestling grounds feared him. The hunting fields praised him. And in mock battles, no one could match his skill with the spear. Yet, when he stood victorious, he did not boast. When others raised their fists in triumph, he lowered his head in thought. The elders would whisper, "He has the body of a lion, but the heart of a dove." Some praised him, others mocked him. Warrior? No. He is too soft. He thinks too much. Peace will not save him when the enemy comes. But Atiko only smiled. And in his quiet moments, he would say to himself, perhaps true strength is not in the hand that strikes, but in the hand that spares. The winds of trouble soon tested that belief. A messenger arrived one dawn. Dust on his feet, fear in his eyes. He knelt before the Anlo chief. "My lord, our neighbors to the east, they march. They sharpen spears. They prepare for war." The drum of alarm thundered across the villages. Mothers clutched their children. Men sharpened blades. The chief summoned the council. "We must fight," they said. "Strike first before they strike us. Show them the power of the Anlo." But Atiko rose slowly, and his voice was calm. "My chief, my elders, brothers, if we fight, many will die. Even if we win, we will lose." The council scoffed. "Do you suggest we fold our arms? Do you wish us to surrender?" Atiko shook his head. "No. I say there is another way. A way to defeat war without fighting it." The room went silent. Some laughed. Others frowned. But the chief leaned forward. "And what way is that, young warrior?" Atiko's eyes gleamed. "Let me go to them. Alone. Let me speak before their spears rise. If I fail, then let war come. But if I succeed, we will save our people, without shedding a drop of blood." The council erupted in outrage. Madness. Suicide. No man goes alone into the camp of the enemy. But Atiko stood firm. "I will go. For I believe a single brave heart can disarm 1,000 spears." The chief studied him long. And though doubt weighed heavy, hope flickered in his old eyes. Finally, he said, "Then go, Atiko. May the ancestors walk with you." That night, while the village sharpened spears, Atiko sharpened his courage. The moon lit his path. The wind carried his prayer. And the lagoon waters whispered, "Be strong." Behind him, his people trembled, waiting for war. Ahead of him, the enemy burned torches, preparing for dawn's attack. And between them, walked one man, one warrior, with no sword raised, no shield lifted, only faith that peace could be stronger than war. But could it? Could a single warrior truly face an army with nothing but words? Could peace disarm hatred? Could calm melt rage? The night was long, the path was dark, and the answer was still hidden. Yet Atiko walked on, step after step, toward the firelight of the enemy. And thus, the story began. The guards saw him first. They leapt to their feet, spears aimed, voices sharp. Who dares walk into the lion's den? Atiko did not flinch. He lifted his hands, palms open. I am Atiko of the Anlo Kingdom. I come with no sword, no shield, only words. The guards sneered. Words. Against spears. They circled him. But something in his calm unsettled them. Instead of killing him, they bound his hands and dragged him into the heart of the camp. The enemy chief sat by the fire, a towering man, scar across his cheek, eyes hard as stone. He looked up as Atiko was thrown before him. A hush fell. The warriors leaned in. The fire crackled. The chief's voice was low and dangerous. Who enters my camp without fear? Who dares disturb my night? Atiko rose to his knees. I am Atiko, warrior of the Anlo. I come not to beg, not to surrender, but to speak. Laughter erupted. Cruel, mocking. Speak, they jeered. What speech can silence spears? But the chief raised his hand. Silence returned. His eyes narrowed. Let him speak. A man who walks into his enemy's fire deserves to be heard. Before he burns. Atiko's voice was steady. Great chief. Mighty warriors. I know your strength. I see your numbers. Yes. If you march at dawn, you may take our land. You may spill our blood. But listen well. He paused. The flames danced on his face. If you strike us, we will not vanish. The Anlo people will rise again. Our children will remember. And the wound between us will bleed for generations. Mama stirred. The chief frowned. But Atiko went on. Yet, if you choose peace, if you choose wisdom over war, then both our people shall live. Our children shall not inherit hatred. They shall inherit friendship, trade, songs, a future. The warriors scoffed. Coward's tongue won't spat. Only a weak man fears battle. Atiko turned, meeting their eyes. A coward runs from battle. A fool rushes into it. But a brave man, a true warrior, knows when to sheath his sword. The camp grew restless. Some muttered angrily. Others fell silent in thought. The chief's eyes burned. You speak boldly for a man at my mercy. Tell me, why should I not kill you now? Why should I not lead my men at dawn and crush your kingdom? Atiko stepped forward. His voice rose like the beating of a great drum. Because if you kill me, you will prove you fear my words more than my people's spears. The silence was thunderous. The fire hissed. Even the night wind stilled. The chief studied him. This young man, unarmed, unbroken, unafraid. Something in Atiko's eyes, a calm strength, unsettled him more than 1,000 warriors could. He leaned back slowly. Bold words. But words alone do not quench the thirst of warriors. What do you offer in place of battle? Atiko spread his hands. I offer peace. I offer alliance. We share the river, the land, the trade. Instead of spilling blood, let us spill palm wine. Instead of burning villages, let us build markets. Let us win more together than we ever could apart. The chief's men erupted again. No. They are weak. We can conquer them. Do not listen, my chief. But others whispered differently. This Atiko. He speaks like a leader. His courage is strange, but strong. The chief raised his hand once more. His voice was grave. I will not decide tonight. At dawn, I will give my answer. Take him. Bind him. And if I choose war, he will be the first to die. The guards seized Atiko. They dragged him to a post. Ropes cut into his wrist. The night grew colder. Yet Atiko's heart was steady. He whispered to himself, peace is the hardest battle, but it is worth fighting. In the Anlo Kingdom, the people did not sleep. Drums of war beat through the night. Mothers wept. Fathers sharpened spears. Children hid beneath mats. The chief of Anlo stood by the lagoon, gazing at the stars. He prayed silently. Ancestors, watch over Atiko. Guide his tongue. Guide his fate. For tomorrow, the destiny of our people rests on him. Dawn crept in. The horizon bled with red light. The enemy camp stirred. Spears lifted. Drums pounded. The air was thick with the scent of war. Atiko was dragged before the chief once more. The warriors roared. War! 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 The chief rose. He lifted his hand. The camp fell silent. He looked at Atiko. Then at his warriors. Then at the rising sun. And in that moment, the fate of the Anlo Kingdom hung by a thread. Would the chief choose blood or peace? Would Atiko's courage save his people, or doom him to die before the spears? The answer was coming. The air was heavy with it. The ancestors themselves seemed to hold their breath. And as the drums thundered, the chief opened his mouth to speak. The dawn was crimson. The sky itself looked like blood spilled across the heavens. A sign, the elders would say. A warning. The enemy warriors tightened their grips on their spears. Their feet pounded the earth in rhythm. War! 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 The chant shook the air. Atiko stood bound. But his eyes did not waver. He stared at the chief. Silent. Steady. Waiting. The enemy chief rose. His scarred face was hard. His voice heavy as stone. This man, he said, pointing at Atiko, walked into my camp alone. He faced my guards. He faced my fire. And still he stands unbroken. The warriors grumbled. Some spat. Others listened. The chief's eyes narrowed. If courage is the measure of a warrior, then this Atiko is no coward. Gasps rippled through the camp. The chief turned. To my men I say this. We can march. We can conquer. Yes, we have the numbers. Yes, we have the strength. But what will we gain? He swept his hand across them. Charred huts. Fatherless children. Widows with no tears left to cry. We will inherit ashes, not riches. The camp grew restless. The young ones bristled. The old nodded. The chief's voice rose. But if we take his hand in peace, we gain more. Trade across the rivers. Allies against greater enemies. Songs instead of screams. a future for our children. He turned to Atiko. You spoke boldly, Anlo warrior. I have weighed your words. And this is my decision. The camp froze. Even the wind seemed to pause. The chief thundered. There will be no war. The warriors erupted. Some cheered. Others shouted in anger. Cowardice. But the chief slammed his spear into the earth. Enough. I am your leader. My word is law. And I say, peace. He cut the ropes from Atiko's hands. The crowd gasped as the young warrior stood free. The chief extended his arm. Atiko of Anlo. From this day, we are not enemies. We are brothers. The moment hung in the air. 1,000 eyes watched. Would Atiko take the hand? Would he trust the man who almost killed him? Slowly, Atiko clasped the chief's hand. Firm. Strong. Certain. The camp roared. Some in joy. Some in fury. But none could deny what they saw. War had been defeated. Not by blades. But by peace. Back in the Anlo Kingdom. The people had gathered by the lagoon. They waited. Hours passed. Drums beat low and anxious. Every shadow made hearts race. Then, a figure appeared. Walking alone. Tall. Calm. It was Atiko. Cries of relief. Children ran. Mothers wept. Fathers bowed. He raised his hand. And behind him emerged the enemy chief. Not with spears. Not with fire. But with open hands. The crowd gasped. Could it be? The man they feared was now walking as a guest. The chiefs met by the lagoon. Palm wine poured. Kola nuts broken. An oath sworn. Never again shall blood stain this river. The people cheered. Drums thundered. Songs rose. And Atiko, he stood quietly, watching, smiling. He had done the impossible. He had defeated war, without fighting. But peace is never an ending. It is a beginning. The whispers returned. Some hailed him. Some doubted him. Podo, the restless warrior, plotted in secret. He raided. He burned. He tried to break the peace. But Atiko stood firm. He faced his own people. He brought justice. He proved that peace requires courage, discipline, and sacrifice. And once again, he saved the kingdom. Seasons turned. The Anlo Kingdom flourished. Markets swelled. Children danced. Travelers marveled. And Atiko grew old. Silver hair. Lines of wisdom. But the same steady fire in his eyes. One day, a child asked him, "Grandfather, how did you defeat war?" And Atiko replied, "Any fool can start a war. But the true warrior is the one who prevents it." When Atiko passed, the drums beat slow and mournful. The kingdom wept. But they also sang. For he had given them a gift greater than gold. He had given them peace. And his name lived on. In songs. In proverbs. In stories told around the fire. The warrior who defeated war. Without fighting. Peace is not weakness. It is the truest strength. It feeds the hungry. Heals the wounded. And builds tomorrow. And if this story has touched you, subscribe to the Story Baobab, the root of wisdom. Here, the ancient drums never fall silent. Here, the wisdom of our ancestors lives on. So click subscribe. Join us. And let the fire of wisdom keep burning forever.